All right, so welcome to our chapter 3 already. We already got 2 of them down, and I think this chapter is going to be pretty cool because we're going to be exploring ranking in SEO. And again, ranking in SEO is something that you may or may not be familiar with, but if you remember from last chapter's explanations about embedded and outbedded rankings in SEO, if you remember like things that you have control over and things you don't have control over, these items are things that we do have control over. Cool. So let's see here. So today you're going to learn more about that on-page SEO. Excuse me, that was the thing I was referring to, on-page SEO. And that's, again, stuff that we have control over that will allow us to either enhance our ranking of the website or figure out ways that we can make it go up a bit more. Optimize on-site SEO, which is SEO directly on your website. And then, of course, understand factors that affect your off-page SEO. So things that occur off-page of your SEO. And again, just because we might not be able to have full control over what's happening off our page, it's good to know what's going on and to be able to react to it in a healthy manner. Cool. So this is a video that I added into the participation guide as well. The form isn't posted, but I'll post it after we do this one. But essentially here, this video I think is just helpful for watching how high or Google ranks in items as well. And it's a very basic introduction. And I think it's helpful to get someone else's opinion on it and just introduce their introduction to it, as it might expand how you view it and stuff as well. And again, to reiterate, on-page SEO, and we have the off-page as SEO as well, but on-page SEO is optimization relating to factors that your code controls itself. So there's going to be a few tags that we're going to go over because I think we might build up a little website here during this. And we're going to figure out how we can insert in our title tags, meta keywords and meta descriptors, which are really, really important. I can't undermine how important these guys are because if you don't have them in your website and they're not updated, you're not going to be seen. And again, from yesterday, we recall that if we're on the second page of Google or later, you can pretty much say that your website isn't up. It's very hard to get people to go to the second page of Google. So make sure your meta keywords and descriptors are good. We're going to do some cool things with headings. Make sure making your content is engaging. Interactive media doesn't necessarily push up your items, but it does allow people to be more attracted to the site. And then, of course, the linking. And remember that we had that black hat SEO with the bad things they would do. Make sure you don't link stuff or link spam or anything as well. Cool. So this is going to be kind of crazy looking on the slides, but once we figure out how we can input it, it's going to be cool. In a page HTML code, which is the code on the back end, the title tag gives an indication of the page content. And essentially, the title is what's going to be displayed on your Google Chrome tab, for instance. Let me pull up our Black Dog Gelato really quickly. And now if I go ahead and I inspect this element here, I'm going to go get a bunch of code. But if we scroll up to the very top here and we go into our head, what do you guys see here? Well, we have a title, Gelato Shop Catering, Black Dog Gelato Chicago. And that's our title. And that title is really good. You have catering inside of the title. And if you see up here, let me show you, this isn't live editing, but if I change this to test, does everyone see up here how this changed up to test as well? So as you can see here on the actual main page, the Gelato Shop Catering is a way that we can have the SEO of our website pushed out and allow us to rank higher. So their title is Gelato Shop, which, and then again, Gelato Chicago. And what that means that if literally anyone types in Gelato Chicago, let me try to see if I can pull it up here. What do you see? I typed in Gelato Chicago, and lo and behold, which guys are popping up here? Black Dog Gelato with their reviews and everything as well. So these guys are doing great, and they're actually on the Google Maps right here as well. So that's why you want to have your title tags up there, and that's an example of one. Excuse me. And again, the words between the title tags are on the source page of the browser. And, excuse me, the search engine that you're using displays that page title as the title of the search snippet on the results page. So that means that the title is going to show up on whatever link the user clicks. Now, again, how do we how do we optimize our title? Avoid key stuffing at all costs. Key stuffing is not beneficial. It's very harmful, and it is a black dog, not black dog, a black hat SEO method that will cause it to penalize you as well. Avoid irrelevant phrases. If you remember from that example, we just had something that said Black Dog Gelato Chicago. Catering, Chicago catering and stuff like that. So not only are they a gelato shop in Chicago, they also do catering, and they also have the name Black Dog up there. In general, your page needs to be able to educate users about the page content and must be relevant and related to the page content. So if it's not educating them and it's not relevant, then that's a drawback on your end. Now, single keywords are, again, glass or insulation or anything like that as well. Oh, sorry, everyone. Let me come in. Okay, sorry. Awesome. So again, single keywords, such as I would type in just gelato or anything, they face a lot of competition. And essentially that means that you're going to be facing all the gelato shops around you. So you want to try to mix in keywords. Black Dog Gelato used catering inside of it and stuff as well. Use long tail terms, which just means that you have a longer word in there. And then remember that you need to keep in mind that each page on the website should have a unique title. And to showcase this again, so their homepage, if we look at the code in here, their title is right here. Gelato Shop Catering, Black Dog Gelato Chicago. And then if I go back here and I hit the catering page and I go ahead and try to inspect this guy, their page doesn't just say catering. If we scroll all the way up to their title page up here, let's try to find it. The title is right here. It has catering, dessert, and events, Black Dog Gelato Chicago. So again, they don't just have this title that says catering, because what would happen if they just had that? They probably wouldn't be as high ranked in the search results. They have tailed terms in there. They have the hyphens. They have a very good descriptor, but you can see here that it's not repetitive. There is no stuffing of keywords in there. It's very short and to the point, but it's very unique enough in order to make us rank a bit higher. Yep. Use a phrase containing 8 to 11 relevant words. I think that I had around 6 or 7 there. But make sure that you don't use very long phrases, because the mobile devices have that issue there. And remember that when we're building content, no one just has a computer anymore. You're probably going to get a majority of your work from mobile stuff as well. So you want to make sure that whatever you're designing for mobile is really well made, to the point, and is efficient on mobile as well. The titles must be precise and concise. Again, this is kind of repetitive that we're talking about. But don't make sure that you don't have duplicated titles or stuff that's already been used. Now, here's a cool thing. Let's see here. Google confirms, let's see here, there's some new stuff as well. That the metadata or meta keywords don't result in the search ranking factors. But the important thing of them is that they appear as the text in what you're showing. So if I go to Black Dog Gelato really quickly on Google, and let me pull this over to you guys. This is the meta right here. This is the meta keyword and descriptor. So we serve artisanal handcrafted gelato and sorbet that is made fresh daily in our West Loop kitchen. So that's what they talk about under meta. And as you can see here, if we click on this and we go to inspect, let's try to find their meta. Scroll down a bit. This is all their meta stuff as well, but let's see if we can find we serve. Yep, here we go. Meta name is description. And look at it right here. The content of this description is the we serve artisanal handcrafted gelato. And that's exactly what they have. And again, that might not factor into the search results right away. But as you can see here, it's what pops up inside of the little area that's underneath it there. So that's why your meta descriptions are important. Cool. And then you also need to have one that's unique for each page. And again, usually you want your home page to be the main one because people can go around to other pages and look at them too. But you want to make sure that you don't stuff the meta keywords and stuff into every page. You want to make sure that you paste them out pretty easily. Now, here we go. Here's the cool thing about... Here's another cool aspect of our code here is the heading tags that we have. Excuse me. Heading tags or H1s are essentially what are headers inside of your inside of your page, and those would be like the intro. So if you're reading a book and it says chapter 1 or chapter 2, those are essentially heading tags. So the heading tag is going to educate the reader about what the entire topic of the page is. You can also you want to make sure that you don't have multiple topics on each web page, but the heading tags are important to make sure that your pages are ranked a bit higher as well. Yep. Also, just as good coding practice, don't skip around between headers. Header 1 needs to be followed by H2, and then header 2 needs to be followed by header 3, and so forth. And make sure that don't repeat keywords too much. Don't keyword stuff, and then also don't repeat keywords in the headings. Now this is all crazy crazy sounding, I would think, but if we go ahead and look back at our code here on Black Dog Gelato, we scroll down a bit. Let's see if we can find something. I think that these guys probably use a different... Yeah, they probably didn't use HTML to build up this website, and that's another thing that sometimes issues with the website design comes in. They might have used a different service, but regardless of that, the headers are always fun. So let's see here. Let me see if I can pull up an example with code. Let me put this together for you guys. Okay, so let me really quickly, you could ignore a lot of this stuff here, so don't worry. Let's do HTML. And now again, this isn't required for you guys, but I just want to show off what some of these guys might look like. Example, chapter 3 example. Cool. So I have a chapter 3 example here. And then what I'm going to do is the headers and tags that we're talking about is all of these guys up here. There we go. Perfect. And it auto-filled in all of my items here. But what I want to show off here is that if you see this very basic HTML example and I save it and I go ahead, let me go ahead and see if I can open page up here. Yep, so I'm going to go ahead and open this. Now you can see that this doesn't have anything. But if I go into the body and we're talking about headers, I could say something like H1. And then I could say this is a header page. And then if I go back into my page here, you'll see that I now have the header up there. And what we're talking about when we're saying you want to make sure that your headers are followed by proper things. This is my second header. And if a few of you, I think, are you guys familiar with the HTML coding and everything? Or is this completely brand new? Well, regardless if we are or not, it's always good to just, excuse me, it's always good to try out these things as well, because the purpose of these header tags as well is that we can try to include some meta stuff in there as well. So we could say meta name, let's see here. Or, you know what, we can avoid that for right now. But if we go ahead and refresh our page, you'll see that the header 1 is followed by the header 2. Excuse me. Excuse me. Cool. Let me get back to where we were. Great. So again, these header and descriptions are always interesting. And remember to just not stuff in your headers with meta keywords. Now, engaging content, this is something that we pretty much learned in DM150. You want to make sure your or your content is relevant, that it's meaningful and pertinent, and that you do not overload on anything with it. You make sure that you have keywords and variations. Look up synonyms for some words that you're using. Don't be very repetitive, but have relevant and good content. Make sure your website's always updated. Make sure that you don't have typos or bad grammar. That will cost you kind of badly. And then also make sure that you don't plagiarize. Cool. And now, let's see here. Oh yeah. So if we have repetitive content, such as for example, you're on like Amazon and there's a similar product that has very similar aspects, but it's on a different page, you can link it using a canonical tag or a trio one redirect, and that essentially means that it's okay that it's repetitive because it's supposed to be repetitive. Now, we talked about the internal links with that black hat example as well. Internal links are what points you to another page within the same website. So again, that would be where you click on maybe go here and it will link you to a different area in the website. You want to make sure that on your page and stuff that you don't need to deep dive into anything. Make sure that nothing is more than 3 clicks away. If it is, people are going to get lost and confused. Make sure your structure, your link crawling, and in that your overall design of your website is pretty easy. The idea, keep it simple and stupid essentially, right? So that anyone who can look up onto it will be able to navigate the structure. Outbound links are another one on your website, but they're going to point you to a different website. So let's just say that you have a blog that's discussing current COVID-related issues. What you could do is inside of that blog, link to a study that maybe the researchers did that's on a different page, maybe in Chicago or anything as well. And that will be an outbound link. And again, the purpose of it being called outbound and inbound is that inbound is inside your websites and outbound is outside the bound of your website. And again, you don't need to copy and paste anything this way. If you're afraid of plagiarism or copying content, you can link it to their content. And then make sure though that what you're linking to is a reputable website, because if you're linking to a website that's harmful or can hack people or is very damaging, you're going to face the repercussions for that as well, even though you didn't technically do any of it. And again, that's why you want to stay updated, right? You never know what's really going on in the World Wide Web. You don't know what stuff is like legit or not, so you might have a very
होने के बाद
outbound
हमारे
link
पास है,
to. Oh,
यहाँ पर होने के बाद फिर इंडिया में।
sorry, Jake. You might have a link to the you might have a link to a solid website that you enjoy, but sometimes maybe that website gets taken down or something crazy happens to it. You want to make sure that that website isn't linked to your website anymore. Hi everyone, a few of us just joined. I'm recording this lecture right now, so you can rewatch it too. And then I will also post that forum post after this. But we're almost here. We just have a few more slides to go. And then we can go ahead and get started with that. Great. Excuse me. On-site SEO is another feature that will affect your entire SEO process and the website as a whole. Essentially, that on-site SEO is a way for you to, excuse me, here. Oh yeah, on-site SEO essentially allows you to optimize your URLs, make sure that your domain is trustworthy. Localization is a really nice thing that allows you to have different languages at once, so that's very helpful. And there's also this mobile site optimization, which is what is necessary for a lot of these products, as it allows us to work with different mobile sites. We also have site loading and the speed of the overall website, which is important as well. Great. We have optimization on the URLs. URLs should be human readable, meaning that anyone should be able to read them. It shouldn't take that long to get through them. They should also reflect what the site's about. So if you have a URL that's about gelato ice cream, the Black Dog Gelato ice cream is a great way to have your URL. And then, of course, make sure that you use hyphens instead of underscores, just because hyphens are a bit more understandable in the human language, and underscores look a bit uglier as well. A favicon is that small little logo. If you look at, let me pull up our example again. If you guys see up here, it's really hard to see, but there's a little image up there that's like red. That's what the favicon is. If we go ahead and go to my email here, do you guys see how I have that Microsoft Outlook? That's a favicon as well. So those are what favicons are, and they're very helpful for showing off what the site might be about if you have a URL, or excuse me, if you have a cool logo or anything like that too. Now here's a cool thing about the XML sitemap. XML again is a language that is tailored for search engines. And essentially it's a machine readable list that allows you to, to index for SEO purposes. So if you remember from last chapter, we talked about indexing forward and indexing backwards. And this is essentially what MXL is built for. This information inside of a sitemap allows the XML to tell the searcher or the robot crawler when this website was last updated, the relevance and importance of the items there, any alterations that occurred to the website, and any related data as well. And essentially, XML sitemaps are really easy for search engines to digest because they were designed for search engines. Cool. Now, a HTML sitemap is a different version of this XML, and it's more so not machine readable, but it is more so human readable. See here? It streamlines your process, and it allows users to be more familiar with the website, meaning that it allows it to go through a bit more of the processes a bit easier. Now, for your XML or HTML sitemap, you might be debating which one you would prefer to use. And the best answer for that would be pretty much to use both, right? Because what is one against the other? One is for the human reading and the other is for the... Excuse me, everyone. One is for the human readable and the other is for the machine readable. So make sure that you have both of them to ensure that the users can navigate your site easily and that your sitemaps are concise. But it's also nice for search engines that go through every single site related to you to show it to. Now, here's a thing that is called domain trust. Oh, let me let you in. Let me just put one more. Okay, sorry everybody. So I have. Okay. Excuse me. So there's domains out there that have been registered for a while, and the idea is that if you're buying a domain for multiple years at an end, it's going to be more trustworthy. So if you have a domain such as blackdoggelato.com or glassinstallers.com, the more that you have that website purchased, and the more that extension is there, the higher your ranking will be because it's a more trustworthy website. Now, this might be a bit unfair because if you're a new website and you're very trustworthy, you're going to have to compete with people that were already in there. But make sure that make sure that your extension is good. You might see websites that have a .io. .io is pretty common now, but the .com is probably the most common and useful extension that you can have. Sweet. Make sure that your keywords in your domain are useful, and even though if they are already taken, make sure you put them in there. Hi, Michael. Welcome. Afternoon. Great. Cool. So I mentioned this a bit earlier about domain localization, and essentially domain localization is you catering to a specific country. Oh, no problem, Zakia. Welcome. This is all recorded, so the previous slides you can review. And I could catch you up to speed and some other things too. So, cool. For instance, we got the CH, the UK, which is United Kingdom, MX. I don't know what those two are, but they are foreign. They're not in the United States, so those are foreign places as well. And that's what localization means. You're localizing it because whoever is going to view your website, it will be local to them. And localization is a really nice way to promote your website and make it more inclusive and catering to others. See here. we can go back to that example in a bit. Excuse me. Now, let's see here. We said this earlier that there's a lot of mobile site optimization nowadays, and the reason that we have mobile site optimization is because the majority of people now have mobile screens and apps, and it makes it much more. Most people are probably going to look at your website and stuff on their mobile phone, so it's the case for everyone. And again, the problem is that if you're, let's say, I was coding a bit earlier, if you remember, on my screen here, and what they actually have tools now. If I go to inspect here, I can actually check out my website on a mobile phone. So this is a Pixel 2. Let's go to an iPhone 8, and you can see here that I'm on the iPhone screen size. But you'll notice that if I only developed my website, see here, sorry, where did my, oh, there it is. If I only develop my website with this idea in mind of how this looks and stuff, I'm going to be crippling myself in the long run, right? Because I need to make sure that the mobile design is there too. And if it's not there, then if I try to push out this update and users that go on their phone to see a really poorly made website that doesn't make sense, and it's like the words are all over the screen, everything's scrunched up, people are much more likely to not come to your business, and it will negatively affect your business. Oh my gosh, I have to go through. Sorry, everybody. I wish it would just keep my place. Okay. That is why, sorry everyone, that is why we have the mobile site optimization to ensure that each of them is being proper. And again, you don't need to worry about this being hard. Most coding languages and Weebly and WordPress, they automatically do this for you. And it's called a responsive website. And what that means is that they created code that will check which device you're on, will determine the size of that device, and then will respond to all the, it will responsively change the content that you currently have in order to make it more viewable on that specific screen. So you don't need to worry about doing a bunch of crazy code to make sure that the item is responsive. All you need to worry about is how the code is created there. Let's go here. Because the responsive stuff is going to be taken care of for you on the back end there. Cool. Cool. So now we have more ways to improve the page load speed. And a few ways of doing that is to minify CSS, which is a cool way of saying that you're going to modify what the CSS currently is. And CSS, again, is the styling of the page, so what the font is, what the colors of the font are, and so forth. Minimizing HTTP requests is a really fancy way of saying making sure that you don't get spammed with like outside bots or anything. Make sure you have a solid internet speed and bandwidth. Make sure you don't overload your website with plugins that might slow people that are on slower website or on slower machines. And then making sure that data and images based on the screen size are interchanged or manipulated as well. Now, here we go. Here's the cool thing that we talked about earlier, that off-page SEO. And these are external, and these are what help you rank higher in your search engine result pages. So now these guys are not designer code related, but they're more like promotional concepts, meaning that if you have the social media on there, the blogging, and inbound links, those are outside factors that are going to link back to your page that will help promote your page a bit more. Now, sometimes a bit of this is self-made, like you might have a Twitter and you might just keep spamming your website onto Twitter. Another time you might just get lucky. Maybe a really famous person on Twitter likes your page and they post it, and then you get really famous off of that. So that is what some off-page SEO is. But essentially, they're not designer co-related and they're more promotional. Try to think of them as something that is a bit outside of your control, but can still help you succeed. Again, please make sure you take advantage of social media. Make sure you spread your reach a bit more and that you're optimizing your market as well. Making sure that your target is reached in social media. I mean, for me, I have on like my LinkedIn page, I have my website on there and stuff. So just make sure that whatever social media you're using, to add in whatever website that you have as well. So doing that is very important. And then, of course, the thing is find your target audience and make sure that you engage them and then have the content there that they want to engage with. Cool. Another good way of doing this is blogging, which is an excellent way to keep your target audience informed and keeping them back. And then, if you remember from the quiz back in DM150, what was the best way to get people to click on your blog? It was the tips and tricks, right? So teach your audience about something. They really want to learn about stuff, and they're pretty much dying to learn about anything. So making sure that you constantly can teach your audience, keeping them informed about aspects of your website. For instance, if your website is about tutorials, having a blog that is constantly updating with tutorials would be very helpful. Now, again, SEO caters to a user's region. So if someone's in China, the SEO is going to be based off of that the China region. But it's especially important to small and medium-sized businesses because it lets them connect to people in their vicinity. So Google My Business is a good example of this. But let's see here. But besides Google catering to the user region, there's also things called local citations, and these are that's a very fancy way of saying reviews online. So either Yelp, Google Review, ratemybusiness.com, anything like that. That is a local citation. Now again, inbound links are links from other domains pointing in towards yours. Let's see here. And of course, if you could somehow get your link to be on a page that has a lot of credibility and is very highly ranked, that would be perfect. But remember that regardless, trying to get your name out there and stuff is a process. So if it doesn't happen like that right away, just be okay with it. And of course, make sure that your links that you have are reputable and they're not spammy. Because if they're spammy, that will be a black hat SEO problem, and that can derank you. You want to make sure that the domains that are linking to your website are positive, reputable, and are helpful to boost your SEO.